In the absence of Sky, I'll start. Injuries, absentees for Sunday?
Robbie Brady is getting back to full fitness. Pleased to say he's been on the grass and training fully with the first team, so that's good. But he won't be involved yet. Danny Drinkwater has taken another big step towards real fitness by getting a 90 minutes under his belt. We'll certainly be looking for some kind of him figuring in the cup game, but it's a bit quick for him Saturday. He's kind of at the end of his excuse me. It's kind of at the end of his pre-season, if you like. His personal pre-season. He hadn't played a lot of football. He's fit and well. He hadn't played much football this pre-season at Chelsea. So we explained that he needs his minutes, to get him back up to speed. And he's bought into that, and he's been training really well. So that's quite a clear picture for him now. Other than that, Stephen Defoe's he's back on the grass, still with the physios, but he is making progress, so we're pleased with that. Other than that, we've got a clean, well, like I say, there's them three, but other than that, we're pretty good shape.
How would you assess the start, 1 win out of 2?
Well, I think when you look at, everyone keeps telling me we've got a tough start. Big win against Southampton, and a very good win, and then a tough game at Arsenal. Well, I thought actually performance-wise we probably deserve something to get out of it. You don't always get anything, which we didn't, but I thought it was a genuinely solid performance, and I thought we definitely showed the right mentality to go and get something from the game. We've got to do that again, of course. Wolves, decent side. They've done well last season, very, very well actually for the last couple of seasons, it must be said, and they've invested well in the club, and they've proven they're a strong outfit. They had a very good second half against Man United. It shows they can, after a quiet first half, they can refine their sort of tempo of performance. So. But we know they're a good side. We witnessed that last season, so we'll have to be performing on top of ourselves to make sure we get something from the game.
They're juggling Europa League like you did last year, and some of the pressures of that. Does that give you a bit of an insight and perhaps a little bit of an edge?
Yeah, I think probably differently. I think their first couple of rounds on paper, look, football's not easy, but on paper, I think they've been more comfortable. Obviously, Torino it looks like a closer affair last night, and sort of pushed towards the wire. And Torino looked like they might sneak something out of it, but they've got 3 away goals, of course. But aside from the actual individual results, it does hold a challenge. There's no two ways about it. They don't have a massive squad, although they've got a talented squad, but they don't have a massive squad. Maybe it's too early to decide what effect he'll have now, but I think it'll be interesting to see going forwards if they can get through that one and they go into the round of games that comes next, then it will be interesting for them. But we're probably in the midst of that. I think knowing what we do from the last or our kind of version of doing it. The thing they haven't got is the injuries we had, so I think that's probably slightly better for them. But outside of all that, that's their challenge. It's not to do with me. Our challenge is to take them on and try and win a game.
Ashley Barnes on the score sheet again for you. Any more observations from the Mons you've made in recent weeks about how he's doing?
No, I think he, like I said, he's after the Southampton game, he continues to work in his game like many do here. Continues to add to his game, and he's I've always liked him, obviously. I bought him to the club. He was my first money signing here, but he's a robust character. He gets his fair share of knocks as well as giving out a few when he has to, playing robustly like he does. But he's learnt the game. He uses his body well. He's a clever player, and definitely a player who's beginning to be recognised, and he deserves that recognition. And he keeps doing the basics well, and I think that's important. And we want that to continue, of course. But there's been many good performances this pre-season and this first couple of games. I've been pleased with how the group's performing, and that competitive edge to the group. So he's not the only one.
I don't know if you saw the story. I was browsing through L'Équipe, the French newspaper.
Yeah, of course. I get it delivered every day.
You saw the story about
very good at
McNeil.
French.
Yeah.
Monge 2, Del Boy. Monge 2.
Yeah, absolument. He's been mentioned as among the top 50 under-20 players in Europe.
Under 20?
Yeah.
Dwight?
Yeah.
Thought he meant Barnsley then. I was a bit concerned, a bit confused even.
Is that a double-edged sword, the fact that he's getting the recognition? And
No, not really. We want him to get recognition because he deserves it. He's a very good player. I mentioned last year the effect he'd had on the team. positive effect. He's positive around the group. I think he's maturing into himself as a person, not just as a footballer. I think he's more and more relaxed around our group. He's more and more relaxed in what he does as a professional. And I want him to continue to show that on the pitch. I want him to continue to play with that relaxed focus, as I called it, relaxed enough to go and play and to play with freedom, but also that focused edge when he knows there's a responsibility, a professional responsibility. And I think he's doing a good job all round. And he remains very humble. He remains driven to what he wants to do, and they're important qualities. And he's got to remain like that to really, really go to the top. First of all, with us, we want him to maximise himself with us. I think he can go beyond, us and go on to pastures new at a higher level of club. That is certainly what's deemed a higher level of club.
C'est tout pour moi.
Cool.
My French isn't up to much, so I'll stick to English.
Petit pois.
Just on Dwight there, do you still think there's a bit more to come from him as well in terms of his learning? You said then he's sort of moulding himself into it.
I mean, it's always difficult to quantify because we can all say yes, there is, but it's the shift in sands of your own performances, the ups and downs, the ins and outs, but really finding that consistency. And I think he's done very well with that. The best players, I always think, they just raise their minimums. On a quiet day, they're still good. And I think that's what he's continuing to look like he's achieving. On a quiet day, he can still find a moment. He can find a pass. He can find a cross. He might find a goal for you. He might find a set piece. And he remains diligent to the basics. He works hard for the team as well. He gets his shape right, and he gets into pressing positions. And he's worked very, very hard on himself, working in transition. We've given him some guidelines to it, but he's really taken hold of it this pre-season. I've been really, really pleased with that because these are important factors. And so if he keeps doing all of them things, then I believe he can continue to improve and make big steps in the future. It's whether he continues to do that. But I've got a feeling he will. I think he's in the right environment here, the right culture, and I think he'll continue to enjoy that.
Yeah, I guess it's the way he burst onto the scene and sort of catapulted himself into everybody's thinking a little bit. It's never going to be that easy all the time, is it? There's going to be bumps in the road and things like that.
Well, sometimes it is. I mean, some players never look back. Sometimes they grip hold of a chance and they just continue. I remember a completely different type of player, but I remember Roy Keane getting pulled out of nowhere at Forest when I was there and being put in the first team squad, thought he was going to take the skips and played at Anfield. Never looked back, and continue to get stronger and stronger and stronger. I mean, it's an old story now, but it's a true story, and Dwight's taken his chance. At first, like you say, it's just a chance. Then all of a sudden you're half a season in and you've delivered. Then you come back for pre-season, are you still delivering? Well, yes, is the answer so far. Some just continue with their growth, and their development weekly, and it just carries on. Some have a few tests and a few twists and a few turns, and they're I think learning how to deal with them and go through them is an important part of a career. But I think he will do that, because don't forget, he came into a side that were having a real tough time last season. Wasn't an easy situation, and he delivered in that. So I think now he's around people who are playing better. I think the collective spirit, the collective energy, and the collective performance has grown a little bit. So maybe he continues to grow with that, and that's what we're looking for him to do.
Just on Wolves, you mentioned then about the sort of implications of Europa League football. Is that a case that it might catch up with them again further on? Obviously, if they progress, it will have an effect. But you start your pre-season earlier, everything's moved forward a little bit, so it's not just about the here and now for them, it's how they deal with it 6 months down the line.
Well, certainly, I mean, I don't know the timescale on it, but certainly over the next few months, I think it's still early season, there's still that bit of freshness. Like I say, they don't seem to have had any serious injuries or injuries that have cost much time for the players. But it is a season's work, so only their manager and the players and the staff will know in a few months' time whether it's had any effect. So that's their challenge, quite obviously. Ours is just take them on and go and win a game.
And just on Danny Drinkwater, I saw him play for the under-23s on Mondays, then come through 90 minutes. Is it a case that he needs X number of match minutes, as you say, before he's considered first team? Or? Well,
he certainly needed them. He certainly needed the minutes he's had. And he's bought into that, quite obviously. Like I say, he's good general fitness. But he didn't play a lot last season or the season before, so it's important to, as you well know, I like to get players fit to play, not using playing to get fit. Obviously, any pre-season, it's part of it, but what I mean is I don't like throwing players in who are not fully fit. So I think if we can get them fully fit first, And then should he get his chance, or when his chance comes, whichever way you look at it, then he's ready to deliver. And then if you're ready to deliver, you've got a better chance of staying in the team and doing well. So I think we're fair with players like that, whether they're coming out of injury or whether it's a player joining us. And he's certainly one of them. So he's definitely bought into what we've offered him, and he continues to do so. He knows the plan for the next sort of week, 10 days, and we'll see where that takes him.
In terms of his attributes, maybe off the field, then obviously hasn't played first team game yet. Have you seen the sort of ability, leadership, that sort of thing around the group?
Just a good lad. I think he knows a few of our players. He's familiar with the area, quite obviously. I think he's just mixing well what the group, with the group demand. He's certainly understanding that in training, the way that we work, and the way the team operates. And I think he knows there's a demand. I don't think, to be fair to him, he's not come in naively. He didn't come in thinking, are you playing me first minute of every game? Not with that attitude. He knows he's got to earn the right to play, and he seems to have the bit between his teeth at the minute. That's got to continue. And
just lastly for me, the sort of balance, I know you said previously about the competitive nature of the group at the minute when everyone's fit, potentially as good as it's been. How easy or difficult is the balance between, for example, J-Rod has come in, when do we give him a start? Is it based on what you see in training week to week? Is it based on training 6 months? Is it based on the form of Barnsley and Woody last season?
I think, like anything, I think I mentioned it before, the process you go through for me and the staff is a bit of all that you've said. How are they looking in training? How are they with themselves? What's their fitness like? What's their sharpness like? What have they been like during the games? What are they like when they're coming off the bench? In this case, if you're talking about J-Rod, I mean.
As an example.
As an example. These are all players, but as J-Rod as an example, as you rightly said. And then when the chance comes, being ready. That's the key for me, being mentally and physically ready. And we process all that down, and sometimes it comes to the right players at the right time, and and he'll know that. But I'm sure over a season, I think all four of our centre forwards could get lots of minutes. I think there's a real tight group there, and a lot of responsibility on them as always. But I think there's a nice competitive edge to that four. Obviously Woody and Barnes, you've got a bit of history here, so it's slightly different. But that changes quickly, and if it needs to change, then I will change it, and I think they know that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What did you make of what you saw from Danny in the 2 games?
Kind of what I'd expect. He's just getting sharp, really. I know he knows the game. I think we all know that. We know he can play. We know he understands the role as a central midfield player. He's played in a 2 as well, don't forget, often against a 3, which we do many times. And I think he understands all that. I think basically it comes down to his real deep fitness and sharpness. And I think that comes with loading in training and, of course, games.
Do you feel his confidence is still there?
He doesn't lack confidence, let me make that clear to you. He's not a player that lacks confidence, I'm sure of that.
I just wanted to ask you about Bury as well, obviously not too far away, pretty dire situation.
Well, I think we're all, unless you've got anything to tell me, we're all waiting on news, I think, today. I don't think any of us want to see clubs struggling. And certainly not in this location. When I came here, it's a hotbed of football, and there's been a few ups and downs around here over the last few years. So I don't think anyone wants football clubs going out of business or whatever comes next if someone doesn't save them, so to speak. It is the trials and tribulations of football, spending against the balance, against the safety of a club, the health of a club. We're certainly one that's on the right side of that, as you know. It makes it tough as a manager, but it is, I can only use Burnley as an example. It's a very healthy club in other ways. And for whatever reason, clubs find themselves in difficulty, and then someone usually has to come and clean all that up and sort everything out. So we're hopeful, I'm sure we're all hopeful, that something does happen today, because if not, it's another loss to football that we don't want. No, I think a lot does. I think probably, we could all argue more should, etc., etc. But it is the top level of, most people argue, possibly world football as a spectacle in the Premier League. Therefore, the clubs want that money to be competitive and keep it there. I don't want to get into my opinion of how the money is broken up. Because there's always debate on that, but some money does go down through the divisions. Could it be more? Possibly, but that's for another day. The immediacy of it is to safeguard a club, and hopefully that'll happen today.
Okay, cameras off then, please.
Afternoon, Matt. Just your sort of assessment on the opening 2 games of the season thus far. Two pretty good performances, would you say?
I think so. Yeah, very good first game of the season. You know, to get 3 points first game's always very happy with that. I thought we played well in difficult conditions, fought it out, and then in the space of 12 minutes, pretty much put the game to bed and went down to Arsenal. Thought we'd done well. We put them under pressure, especially from set pieces. On another day, maybe could have got a point.
And obviously last season was a tricky start with the Europa League in the mix as well. Just how important is it to get a platform to build from this time around?
Yeah, we enjoyed it last year, but I think ultimately it did, put us a bit behind where we wanted to be at the start of the season in the Premier League. And this time we've had a full pre-season at it. The lads are strong and sharp and ready to go. And I think, like you say, it showed the first couple of games that we're right on it and ready to push up the league again this year.
And obviously this week you're playing a team who are in the shoes you were in a year ago. Just how, give us a bit of insight in how difficult it is when you're coming back. I know they've only come from Italy and you were coming back from Greece and Turkey and stuff, but how difficult it is travelling and then playing and fitting training in and when to eat and when to sleep and all that stuff.
Yeah, it is difficult. Yeah, I mean it was a new thing to us all, last season. But like I said, we enjoyed it. But it does play on you ultimately. I think it did show that we were, not where we wanted to be as a team, as a squad. So, we'll be looking to make sure that we make Wolves feel like that at the weekend. We know what it's like you say, travelling and fitting training and things like that. So it's up to us to step on and make it difficult for them.
Yeah, I guess when you're coming back they'll have thrown back presumably after the game last night and maybe a day or day and a half to prepare as opposed to a full week. That does have an impact, doesn't it? I
think it does. Yeah, we've had a full week to train. Where we need to do the sharp stuff, where we need to, the long stuff. Where we need to, bit of tactics, things like that. So we've had a full week to build up to it, and like I say, ultimately though, it's up to us to step on and make sure that we make it difficult for them. And just on yourself and the Burnley back four at the moment, how good a unit have you been sort of since the turn of the year? Really, I know Eric's coming at left back in the first 2 games, but you sort of got back to that level that you were at the year before. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think that's down to the whole starting 11. To be honest, working hard for each other, filling gaps, tracking runners, things like that. And like you say, we got back to blocking shots, making clearances, working as a unit a lot better. Especially the second half of the season and going into this season, we worked on it a lot in pre-season. The manager's big on it, and I think it's showing that we're back to where we want to be. I guess you've got 2 wingers as well who are prepared to work hard as well. They're not like some sides who have very attacking wingers who might not track back as much as the lads you've got. No, they're very honest. Yeah, it's great. Playing as a fullback to have the wingers in front of you that do both sides of the game, and they're honest enough to get back in and help you out. And ultimately, the whole squad's working hard together, and that's what we're looking to do. I'm just going to ask you one question about this horse. Are you involved with the syndicate? Yeah, I'm involved. Yeah, it's going well at the minute. He came third on debut behind a very good horse who's won a few times since, and won ultimately a couple of weeks ago at Chester. So it's doing very well. Yeah. How did that come about? Was that, I know Corky's got a bit. Jack's big on it. Yeah, Jack and Chris Woodsy, they're very big on it, and just offered it out to the lads basically that they were going to start a little syndicate up, and if we want to get involved, we can. And it was more for the days out. Keeping lads together, Vokes is involved, who's not here, so it was more of a long-term plan of, if lads do end up moving on, that we still keep in contact and things like that, and no, it's enjoyable. Do you know a bit about horse racing previously, or is it complete unknown to you? Or no, I did. I don't mind it. Yeah, I learned a lot more since going down to the yard and seeing different things that they do and that, and it's quite interesting to see how they work day to day. I guess a healthy interest as well. That's to take your mind off football, if anything. No, it does, yeah. Like I say, the days out, we took the family down, and they enjoyed it just as much as we did, and it was good to get all the lads together and the families. Yeah. When's the next running? He took ill the other day. Scope dirty, they said, so he was meant to run in France, but scope dirty, so he's off the track for a few weeks, I think. Cool, nice one. Thank you. Yeah. He used a phrase I'd never heard of then. So.
Matt, do you feel like you've sort of shown your ambition so far this season and kind of where you want to be?
Yeah, we don't want another season, start to the season like we did last year. It wasn't good enough, we all knew that, and we turned it around after Christmas, and that's the way we wanted to start this year, is the way we finished last year, and had a good, hard pre-season, got the miles in the legs and worked hard, and I think it showed the way we started.
And for you personally, last season it was a bit in and out, wasn't it, because of injury? Your prime consideration just staying fit. Really.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, stay in the team week in, week out. And hopefully contribute to to a few goals going forward, as well as keeping it tight at the back.
There you go, guys. Cameras off.